Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is the preseason action, seventh preseason overall. We're about to have ourselves a grand old time. Hello, everyone. And my name is Nelvanta, and I'm so glad to be a part of today's festivities, being here with you for Prospects eRacing Esports. This is going to be a race to remember, and I'm, for one, am glad to be here with you today. If you guys are watching now, streaming now live on that YouTube, let me know how if you can hear me coming in loud and clear. It's tier two in that PC realm. And I can tell you one thing, even though it's a brand new season, a brand new game, these cars are looking to make an impact when it's all said and done. Preseason action here coming to France, the Grand Prix, the original Grand Prix space, if you will. I should say, the French Grand Prix. There we go. I had my notes here, but now they're right in front of me as the cars are about to get themselves ready up. We have ourselves a qualifying situation first, followed by a 25% race. Let me know how you're feeling in the chat here today. I'm going to be with you all evening, all afternoon. It's out with the old and in with the new. Now that we have some names that are familiar to some people in the Prospects e-racing realm, it's a whole new game. First time using Formula 122, the Codemasters EA title, which dropped about, by my estimate, you had a bit of a period for the drivers to get accustomed to everything and anything. In the meantime, you get to see this firsthand how these cars are affected. Take a look at the drivers as they begin to pilot. Representing the Red Bull vehicle, you have Swan and JD05. These were some of the first cars, first racers I saw when I got to the comms for the first time, representing the Red Bull, with Mark Jonker and Maverick Loki representing the Mercedes team, trying to see if their fate will be different this year out than they were a year prior. T4 Real rounds out the AlphaTauri, probably waiting on their teammate, whereas Jules X7 is representing Alpine. Pronounce it. I always say Alpine. If it's Alpine, you let me know. Right now, I'm looking at the statuses, the pings. Necessarily the most ideal for everyone. Or hopefully that gets to be fixed just a little bit later. Brad White is going to be showing out in the McLaren with Mr. Meta in the Williams race. Counting out those who have already checked in. Lemony Tang of the Coms family, representing the Ferrari, also waiting for there as well. So one 18-minute period of qualifying, then we'll have ourselves a 25% race here too. France is a fantastic track, one that's a little bit of a balance for our racers today. It's a 3.63 mile circuit that's going to be a challenge for our drivers, especially as they get accustomed to the controls and how the cars feel. I've been hearing that the vehicles this year feel a bit heavier than editions past. So it's going to be a little bit of a passage right by fire, trial by fire, rite of passage. I kind of mix my metaphors there. Totally understand where I come from. Now, I want you to bear with me. First time on the stream, first time doing comms solo. So we have our little bit of a growing pains for me too. And I understand you guys are a patient community. Thank you for growing with me. You're going to be stuck with me all afternoon. As we get ready for the rest of our cars to get ready and ready up for that qualifying session, what are you looking for to see this season? We're going to have ourselves a little bit of a different medley of tracks of different difficulties and length and speed. Want to make sure that you guys are having time of our lives, because you see here at Prospect Esports, we want to make sure that we are giving you the kind of exciting, thrilling wheel-to-wheel action or strategy you're looking for. So much. Lemony Tang's in the chat. Owen's in the chat. Thanks so much for rolling me. It's Novanti here on the comms solo alone. It's kind of odd being here without my partner in crime, Alfred. I'm going to make it work as it is right now. You can tell by the screen right in front of me. In France, it's going to be a short qualifying session, 27 laps, about 25% performance across the board. I was asking about that yesterday with our officials about the performance issues. I've been reassured that it's going to be even around across the team. So it really comes down to strategy, down to grit, will, Lemony Tang and the Ferrari, Spinola. We are not going to wish for that as much. We're going to be able to, hopefully, you finish in a good, favorable position. All driver points are important. About 10 seconds away from qualifying. I can feel the anticipation already. I don't know about you. Maybe one day when I'm good enough, I could probably be a racer myself, or driver myself. Best of my knowledge. Oh, well, I'm trying to spectate. Hey, six about qualifying. Beautiful course if there ever have gets lost in the shuffle from more sexier courses. Think about Monaco. You think about well, I'm kind of biased myself. you know. Let me get out of here. Get myself. Um, okay. I got told that my mic is in and out, maybe because I'm twirling around in my chair. All right. Is this be better for you, Lemony Tang? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Qualifying session. Cars in the pit now. We're waiting for everyone to come on out of the pits. All right. We're ready. Brown Wrights on that out lap. What that means to have one of the quickest qualifying sessions in the preseason can mean a lot for yourself. It can mean a lot for your team. I've mentioned before, it's a brand new game. The game just dropped about a week ago here with the collaboration of EA Sports and Codemasters. Thanks so much, Dan Walker. I removed the pop filter because usually, a bit about myself, I'm more of a Rocket League commentator, and so when I do that, I usually like, oh my god, what a goal! It doesn't really happen as much here, so trying to make sure I'm not too loud. I know that's kind of a patty pat thing. I was just kidding. Brad White, the outlap here. Like I was saying before, it takes a lot for these cars to really get these drivers, excuse me, to get familiar with themselves with the cars, especially so early in that preseason. So it must mean a lot to be able to show out early enough when it comes down to what their prospects are for the rest of the season. No pun intended. All right, everyone's pretty much hitting their outline except for Lemony Tang, still in the pits. And so JD05 is still in the pits, probably looking and waiting for their moment to strike here. About 15 minutes to go in this qualifying session, only 18 minutes. So that may give you some time to do yourself a little better, but not too much time. You don't want to get too complacent and say, I have all the time in the world, especially if it takes a while to get yourself up to speed. Mark Jonker and that Mercedes getting all warm. It's a beautiful course, isn't it? It really is. To give other teams some love there. Jules in the Alpine. About ready to get some times and numbers on the board. Prospects, esports, eRacing, Tier 2 PC. And if you're watching this right now, thinking to yourself, maybe I can try my hand at that, we invite everyone to apply. We have leagues for PC, which is on what we're doing today, Tier 2, Xbox, and of course the big Mammoth Jam PlayStation. I wonder if there's going to be almost a Super League thing happening soon with Cross League play, but that's neither here nor there. I already have a yellow flag here. All right. Video 5, warm the tires up. Waiting for the moment to strike. Let's take a look at AlphaTauri for now. T for real. Pretty impressive so far on the straightaways. And already Brad White with the fastest lap. And the fastest lap, just like say that, is just gone real quickly. Mark Jonker by a considerable margin. Look at that. A little bit over a minute and a half already. Provisional pole. I don't know if you could say that with 13 full minutes to go. But an unbelievable pace. That's a lot already off the top, off the rip. Just a little bit of a backstory here. The fastest pace from in real life IRLs from Max Verstappen about a little bit more of a minute 30. So Mark Jonker's on pace with actual IRL racers. On this course, you'd pretty much be going at a maximum miles per hour of 145 miles per hour. And for those of us who aren't on this side of the pond, that's about 233 kilometers. Mr. Meta in the Williams, seemingly from almost nowhere, sitting on P3 as it is right now with a minute 33 and half. Plus half. I'm with you, Dan Walker. Dan Walker says, hopefully cross-play is a success. You know, in history would say lots of bugs, but you know what? I like the attempt. You know, I remember the days where you had to buy games multiple times, or you used to be upset that your guy had a system that you couldn't play with them, and hopefully they get that out the way. Because if cross-play works, I really feel like there'd be a lot more opportunities for racing leagues quite like this one. Can you imagine the best of all platforms here at Prospects, eRacing getting together to make sure they have a Super Cup or an Ultra Cup or something along those lines? Brad White currently in P4 was the first one out of the pits during this qualification session. Trying to get back into it. So as of right now, we have 3 official times of our field of 9 here in Tier 2. A little bit more than halftime ready to go. I feel like Lemony Tang is finally getting out for their out lap as well. Video 5 is currently in that business. Video 5, a perennial favorite in the paddock here. Struggling, but that's a very loose struggle. I mean, it's not even the first race. It's the first qualification session of the preseason. Our off season's been about 2 weeks. Drivers at most had about a week with the game, if you want to call it a game, unless you believe like eRacing is life. Then I totally understand that. Already going to the pits as of now. About 10 minutes ago, Mark Jonker still on that provisional pole at 132. Maverick Loki in second, P2. And Brad White, the McLaren, in P3 for now. As we head into the halfway point of this 18-minute qualification session. The quali, if you will. I feel weird doing that. You know, I'm American AF, but saying things like quali sounds very European. Am I allowed? Let me know in the chat below. Like, let me know if it's kind of like, hey, you're trying too hard to be cool, or everyone can say quali. Let me know. But as it stands right now, it's pretty obvious the Mercedes in tandem has found a way to unlock their cars. Sitting at P1 and P2. Would it be a lockout if times were to hold? But it's more than 90 minutes left, more than halfway to go. Lemony Tang has been JD05 and T4 Real have yet to post an official time for this race. Take a look at Mr. Meta with a 133.591 one party posted on the outside one more time. Trying to do a little bit better. Doesn't really have much to do as far as to get themselves in the conversation. You know, the field of only 9 cars. P4 is good enough as it is. Everyone knows when you have some time to get yourself a little bit more, why not do that? All right, cool. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. I was asking about the validity of saying quali. Yeah, I saying quali. You know what happens is it's those kind of words that, oh, we have a spin. Mr. Meta spins. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. What happens? You push the car too hard. Wanting to make that time up. I know how important it was to get in that top 3, even though P4 is a enviable position any day of the week, especially with a field as small as this one. Just going a little bit too heavy. Reminds me of myself. But I say that in the comfort of my own booth. I can't drive worth a dang. I got my first racing wheel after years of using a controller, and I thought I was an ace on the controller. But once you get those wheels involved, once it comes down to full concentration, full dedication, I have all the respect for the drivers out here today. I think the majority of them are on racing wheels from all over the world. We have drivers in Europe, drivers in the United States. I myself broadcasting live from Los Angeles, where it's about 17 minutes after noon. It's 12 o'clock. Sun's still out shining. It's kind of weird saying good evening and good night, but Mercedes still on P1 and P2 as it rolls into a little bit more than 7 minutes to go in this quality session. But we have a new fastest lap. T4 real out of seemingly nowhere. 1:31.937. I mean, that is IRL F1 pace. T4 real with a majestic drive. If it holds, they'll be sitting on pole. Just as I was about to sing the praises of a 1-2 lockout, that one's there. So as right now, we have 6 vehicles, 6 cars with times posted. Still waiting for a Lemony Tank spin in GD05 to get something on the board here at the end of 7 minutes. Mark Jonker retakes the fastest lap on that soft compound. The Mercedes back on 1. T4 Real splitting that lockout now. Brad White, the lone McLaren, not the slow McLaren, the lone McLaren out here. Would love to get in that 1, 2, 3 equation. Bit more pace. Get themselves there. Full 3 seconds separates the top from the bottom. The Alpine. Would be a good day for them if they were in the top half of the qualifications when it's all said and done. 5:40 to go here in this 18-minute qualification session. We're here in France at the original Grand Prix, if you will. And after quali, we'll have a 25% race, about 27 laps, I believe, through this tier 2 of PC Prospects Esports Racing. Novanta here on the comms with you all afternoon. Questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the chat. Have a good time, y'all. Still waiting on times from Lemony Tang and Spin. Still waiting for them. You know, going into this, I was wondering about the readiness of these teams, depending on being accustomed to the new physics and the new game. But this is fairly healthy when it comes to the split of times. Makes you wonder the dedication these teams have put in, the hours they put in to show out in this preseason matchup. That's right, we're only in preseason. We have 2 weeks of preseason before the actual season gets underway. And then probably, most likely, you're going to see drivers really push it. Lemony Tang finally gets on the board. I bet, given the time left, about 4 minutes, they want to have another go at it. 143 and some change. Far off the pace of P1. But there's still time. Mark Jonker, T4 Real pitted. I'm not sure if they're done. Probably. They could be done. They're respectable times. In the half, no one's catching that one, really. Or will they? Brad White is trying to make sure that's a possibility for them. Having one more go at it. Also, Jules the Alpine is out there as well with Lemony Tang as well. So, with the exception of Lemony, P's 1 through 7, about 3 seconds separates them all, which, like I mentioned before, is a bit healthier than I thought it would be in this first preseason matchup. Not knocking anyone's talent. I just figured, I would have probably spun out or I would have pulled over. I would have complained about physics. I would have complained about bugs or something like that. But our drivers have a lot more resolve than I do. Dan Walker claimed or predicted Mark to get 131.6, but 131.816, it's pretty close. Can't knock that at all. Lemony Tang with 134 as I'm rambling. 134.502. Definitely the conversation now. Probably good for the morale than anything else. Doesn't really do much to affect their standing. But just to say, hey, I can hang with the guys, I can hang with the boys. And I mean that in the most general way. Boys and girls, guys and gals, everyone's invited to be a driver here at Prospects Esports, Prospects Racing as well. Watching that YouTube, do me a favor, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, hit that like. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm Novanta at RL. No, at Novanta RL. That's NOVANTARL. Put myself over, brother. Final 90 seconds of qualifying. We have ourselves what seems to be a very firm look at what that grid is going to be as Lemony Tang is going in slow motion. Is that lag, it seems? It looks like lag, unfortunately for them. Looks pretty much going to be Mercedes up top alongside T for real with Brad White, Maverick, and JD05 and Mr. Meta, the first 3 rows. Lemony Tang is back from a little bit of that lag session. It's kind of hard not to think about if that will play any kind of factor in the race itself. As much as we like to say we want to just go look at pure skill and drive, sometimes Wi-Fi has another plan entirely. 135 seconds here at Quali. Didn't get an official time from Spin. Maybe looking to get driver of the day by doing damage from P9. Risky proposition, but not sure what was going through their mind in their camp. Maybe a whole new strat I haven't seen. Official time ending for quali. Everyone has up till now to finish their last lap. Yeah, barring something miraculous, we're looking at Mark, T for real, Brad, and Maverick, the first 2 rows. Final moments here. Getting some housekeeping done. It seems. And it's official. Mark with the fastest lap. Not sure if preseason points count for anything, but if they did, that would be a good time. I'm pretty sure it's more of an exhibition situation. And there you have it. Mark Johnson, Jonker, and the Mercedes will be on pole, followed by T4 Real and the AlphaTauri. Brad White, the McLaren, will be alongside Maverick Loki, the Mercedes. JD05 will be alongside the Williams Racing in that third row, followed up by Lemony Tang, Jules, and Spawn. That's P1 through 9. 9 cars will be on that field today. Yeah, Dan, you were closer than I would have. I would have been. That's I got to give you props for that. You were just what 2,000s off pace. So why not? Trying to retire the car here, so I'm not part of this. No, this is kind of awkward. Help me out here, guys. I'm trying to retire the car. Definitely something new to me as well. The last time I played a game was Formula One 2020. Let's see if I can retire that car here. Uh, technical difficulties, I should say. Any kind of help. You can help me out here. Ah, there you go. Thanks so much, Dan. Appreciate you. I'm sure we get this sorted out as we go forward. Should probably connect my controller or something. I've never played keyboard and mouse with it before, so okay. Well, yeah. Guess we're waiting for everyone else to get themselves involved here before we go. Yeah, I'm trying to retire now, but I can't move. So something I don't want to actually like leave the lobby. Apologize for technical difficulties. Just anyone in the chat here can help me out with this. That would be greatly appreciated. I don't want to be causing the damage of the race. You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool. I can see if I could hire the car. Almost going to be underway here. Session will start in about 20 seconds. Pause minute. Okay. So I've officially retired. And that does leave a safety flag, and unfortunately, and we're underway for real, for real. Thanks, Shane MC, for that. Hopefully, we can get that sorted out. Technical difficulties abound. But we're officially underway here. And you can see how I freaked out when I was behind the wheel. And that's why I shouldn't be a driver here. I'm just like, oh, dear God, what do I do? That's what happened here. But yes, we're underway here. This preseason matchup here. We're in France, the original Grand Prix. It's going to be 27 laps, 9 cars, 9 drivers on the grid today. T4 Real already making short headway, being in second place during qualification, coming out ahead. And people always kind of laugh and scoff when it comes down to these quarter length races, these 25% races, but the same kind of strategy is in bounds. You try your hand at a certain compound. Do you switch when you need to be? Do you pit early or late? Do you try to overcut or undercut? These are all things that will go through the mind of these vehicles. T4 Real in first by a comfortable margin. Still with JD05 on the heels. Spawn following behind them, and Brad White in fourth, making up the top of the grid. Lemony Tang actually get themselves in the conversation very late in quali, running P5. Followed by Jules. The 2 Mercedes, Maverick and Mark in 7th and 8th, which is very surprising, even though it's early enough yet, with Mr. Maida. And 9th, and what a spin out there by Mr. Maida. Not sure what happened to them there. Like, again, pushing yourself way too hard, trying to make up some lost ground. And doing that cost them some time. They're still in it, though. Nothing too egregious in damage, as far as I can tell. I must say a lot about the morale getting out so early in its preseason race. As I say, T4 Real in first by a comfortable margin. You know, there's a lot of time to race. As I say that, Spawn and Brad White and JD05, to be honest with you, are just looking at their opportunity to strike. The 2 Red Bulls probably have a sound strategy as it is, going for maximum points or preseason points. I'm not sure if that works or anything. And the early going. Over 3.6 miles a lap here. A nice balance of turns and straightaways. There's a bit of a sandwich action in that corner. As right now, Brad White holds on to P3. But still has JD05 on their heels. JD05 is nipping at those heels now. You know, I was going to make a case to take your time as I say that, JD05 is going to make their time and try to make their hay right now. Try to go for an overtake, but does not. Had to give the corner away, but I love the aggression early on the going. Just a car length, a half a car length separated them between getting out ahead and having to stand back and be held at bay. Brad White does a good defensive driving as it stands right now to stay at P3. Lemony 10 kind of feels all alone in Island. Didn't have the strongest start, but still in this. You and I both know when it comes to a race quite like this, when in the early going, where it may seem all is lost yet, all it takes is 1, maybe even 2, twists of fate. Mr. Meta didn't have a strong start. Speaking of a lack of a strong start, kind of in the rear by a considerable margin, but doing their best to get themselves in there. And then, as I say that, we have our first penalty. A 3-second penalty there for Brad White. Juan with the fastest lap here in the early going. 4 laps already elapsed here. This is a fast course, a fast pace, about 155 miles, 145 miles an hour, 233 kilometers on the main straightaways. The 805 was so close to being in P3 just about a lap and a half ago. Still in P4, but more comfortably so, or should I say uncomfortably so, looking to reverse their fortunes. But how cool would it be? How great would it be if there was a 1-2 win for Red Bull? For real started strong in that first position. Now, still top of the grid, yes, but now fighting to get back what's rightfully theirs in the straightaways. Spawn has just hit a whole new gear, a whole new afterburner, if you will, and that's what it says about the resolve of looking at being down by so much and saying, I'm going to lock myself in, get myself in the conversation, in the equation of victory. Heading towards the 5th lap here in France, original Grand Prix. It's Spawn, T4 Real, Brad White, JD05, and Lemony Tang. Now, as we head into the pit window coming up shortly, it makes you wonder which teams be the ones to take the time early enough to assess and which one's going to stay out there for their own strategy. Kind of a story that we haven't spent too much time on is the apparent misfortune that Mercedes team, Mark Jonker, and Maverick Loki were seemingly on the top of that pitch. And even though the first lap tells a different tale for them, currently struggling in that P6 and P7 position. It's a lockout, but not of the best order for them. With only 9 cars on the grid today, a P6 and P7 is less than ideal. But even though I say that, there's still time for Mercedes to make some headway, especially for Mark Journey, only about a second and a half behind P5 in Lemony Tang. It's early enough yet, but being the sole driver with a penalty as it is, Brad White has to think about that when it comes to their positioning. 3 seconds isn't necessarily a death knell, but you don't want to rack up too many of those. Tier 2 PC action here, preseason, original Grand Prix, France, Francois, Je m'appelle Novanta. I'm here with you in this race. Approaching 25% of the 25% race. And what an overtake there by Brad White. Just caught JD05 sleeping out of nowhere. That is just a depth drive and is now getting some space between them and JD05 in a way that was as smooth like butter, hot knife included. Wow. Let's see if they can capitalize on that. Probably has T4 Real in their sights while T4 Real is still trying to fight with Spawn. And there's a considerable gap between P2 and P3. If you're T4 Real, you want to make sure that gap is as wide as possible. Spawn did all right for themselves in quali. Now, king of the mountain, king of the hill. But for how long? Look here, JD05, the only car on the soft compounds. Everyone's on the mediums, or Mr. Meta's in the hards. It's an odd choice. You won't say odd, I would say unique choice. It's only odd if it doesn't work, right? If Mr. Meta had hard compounds, gave him P1, you would say, oh, that's genius. But the only driver on hard compounds, JD05, the only car on softs, still approaching 5 and 6 laps old. Wonder who'll be the first ones to start getting themselves into the pits. P05, after conceding P3, may almost concede P4 if they're not careful. Mark Jonkers coming the inside and does, and almost does touch them and does it. But you know what? Mark Jonker earned that P4 with aplomb. It is not a good day for JD05 as it is right yet. But I can tell you one thing, to concede those positions the way they did is enough to frustrate anyone at this juncture. 7 laps in, we've already seen 2 fantastic overtakes. Things of beauty, really. And it's fairly apparent it's becoming a tale of 2 races. That mid-grid, that 4-5, that 3-4-5, and that P1 and 2 are just going back and forth here. That said, on 6-lap old tires, Spawn still on top with T4 Real. Well, there's about a second behind. We have our first pit, it's JD05. Now, it'll be kind of interesting to see what compounds they try here. I would suggest the mediums myself, but I'm not an expert. First one in the pits in this race here in the preseason, going for the hards. Interesting choice. Going for the hard compounds, probably going for the long game. Let's see if that strategy works out for them in the long term. JD05, the first car in the pits here in this preseason matchup. Tier 2, PC, Prospects versus eRacing. And a good drive, to say the least, for T4 Real. Started off with a quality time that came absolutely out of nowhere. And it's still hanging on P2. Still has to get through Spawn. And Spawn has had a day themselves, as you can see on your screen, from their qualifying position. I don't think even posted a time, if memory serves. Now sitting at P1, this is a lot. Maybe had some training tricks up their sleeve I didn't want to share to anyone on the quality track today. And if we have ourselves a penalty, it seems, T4 Real 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And that's the kind of penalty, well, no one wants to get a penalty anyway, full stop, right? But those are the kind of penalties are the worst ones because they're completely avoidable. Those are completely on you. You really can't blame anyone bumping into you or cause you to make a decision out of your hand, out of your pail. 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits. That's not good. One thing you can wish for now is being a little bit more speed on the come out. Maverick Loki decides to get in the pits as well. JD05 is out there in the P6. Let's see what they're going for as well. This is the Mercedes. Up, ready to go. Seems to be the hard compounds. Back out. And their teammate, Mark Jonker, sitting rather comfortably in that P3 position. Mercedes had to fight their way to get back in the conversation with a spectacular qualifying effort. Seemingly was dashed in the first 2 laps of this race. As I say that, it's been Mark Jonker putting the team first, it seems, get themselves in that P3. It's always interesting to see Brad White, the lone papaya, out there on the track today. Cruising the track, lap 10 of 27 here at the original circuit. So as the regular season starts about 2 weeks from today in Tier 2 and Tier 1 across the board. This is Tier 2 in the PC League, Conference, Division. It's good to see that almost everyone is out there trying their hands at competitive racing to get themselves accustomed to not only the new dynamics of the new game, which dropped about a week ago, but definitely their own skills, their own willingness to push as a driver. That was kind of spicy, but for sure the race stewards would have had an issue with that. But they say play on. Seems to be a battle here for P2, P3. And we're seeing a lot of these positions open up. I mean, there's not a lot of competitiveness between these positions as of yet. A lot of time between things. The closest one I can see is that 2-3 battle. Mark Jonker in that Mercedes wants to get back on top with a passion, with a menace. So tight around the corner. Brad White, they're not careful. Could be a sitting duck. And keep in mind, Brad has that 3-second penalty from earlier. So if they want to hold on to that P2 or do better, they're going to have to do it from a considerable margin. It's interesting there. By my screen, it didn't look like Brad White activated DRS, even though Mark did. Not sure if it worked out for them quite as much, but it's still in the conversation now. P3 for Mark Jonker, the Mercedes. Brad White, P2, in the McLaren. And any kind of moment now, there might be a little bit of an attack. And as I say, that'll take us one mistake, one wrong line. That's definitely possible and doable. Less than a second, about 7/10 separate these two. That battle for P2 and P3 is the closest one we're going to see for a while here. That's a chance. 4/10 separate the side, just run the bump. Maybe not time to attack and has to let off based on the turn of the course. You could tell Brad White feels it. Brad White knows it's an overtaking situation, but no, it's not enough and has to concede. You saw that Mark was just looking for the right time to strike. It is on wheel to wheel. All it takes is just a razor's edge. A slip up, a wrong turn, a slow turn, and it could be a different twist of fate for either one of these cars. Mark Jonker still has Brad White's penalty in hand. If we're to end at this lap, we'll probably get that P2 because of it. And it's going to be a situation. And now it looks like an overtake. No, it is. It is an overtake. And Mark Jonker with a classic idea of saying, I'm going to wait till the straights to make this a possibility. Still on the medium tires, though. Makes you wonder what is going to happen on the back half of this race. As you can see here, both P1, 2, and 3 are on old tires. But as it is right now, Mark Jonker in P2, a little bit of a margin. Brad White's not out yet. Trying to see if they can get that position back. And when that comes, a little bit of an aggression. The question becomes, will it be too aggressive? Will it be self-destructive? Will it be calm, cool, and collected? Brad White eyeing for their chance to come around that corner. Has to lay off. You know, it's only for the time being, something fleeting. Something has to happen now on the inside. It just shut off by good defensive drive for that Mercedes. That Merc has done a very good job of keeping that McLaren at bay. But for how long? Like, just ironing, waiting, gathering, licking their wounds in that last attempt. And now we have ourselves a pit from Mark Jonker. Didn't want to get into battle anymore. And as it is right now, Brad White's back in that second position. So now it comes down to strategy. 13 laps elapsed. Oldest tires out there belong to P1, P2, and now P3. Spawn, Brad White, and Lemony Tang let's hack their way back up to P3. And it's seeming everyone else decides to go for the hard strategy. The one-stop strategy makes sense. About 13 laps in. One compound needs to be changed. believe, like F1 rules. If it's following the same rules as F1. But the question becomes the top 3 positions all at old tires. No, you can't do that forever. Believe me, I tried. So it really comes down to when they decide to make that pit stop work for them. But then at P4, 5, and 6, you got T4 Real, Mark Jonker, and JD05, all skilled drivers, all with something to prove, nipping at the heels with fresher tires. T4 Real and the AlphaTauri led for a bit the opening of our contest here today. Imagine what it would be if they played the long game. Imagine it would be if they found a way to cut through the noise to end this race and get themselves a feather in their cap in the preseason contest here in France. Mark Jonker out of the pits, fresh tires, the hards, currently at P5. And now the battle begins again for them. After tasting P3 with some fantastic driving, having to back off to get themselves locked and reloaded. Let's take a look at the back half of that pitch. JD05 had a bit of a day, to say the least. Kind of fortune and misfortune. Things were giveth and things were taken awayeth. And for them, there's still an opportunity for them to make a little bit better for fortune for themselves. Maverick, the other Merc, not as strong as their teammate, as their countryman. Still holding down the back of the pack fairly well. Consistent drive throughout. And in P8, Mr. Meta, we saw them spin out in qualifying. We saw them drive a little bit too hard in the race itself. But does not mean all is lost. One of the benefits about preseason that you can go back, watch the footage, see what you have to adjust before things start to really count. I mean, things always count. You know what I'm saying. The P9, Jules had a technical issue. This is unfortunately part of the esports thing, the esports world. Kind of, I think, as a ghost now, so probably not even actively in the course. Get that back. We're seeing here just a little bit of a situation of just not being comfortable with themselves on the track. I think that comes with a bit of repetition, a bit of repetitions, a bit of time familiarizing yourself with the new physics and everything. With that said, Maverick, even though they're on the back half of the pitch today, back half of the track today, excuse me, has done okay for themselves. Holding out P7 by considerable margin. And we have our new lap leader. It's Mark Jonker, the Mercedes teammate, coming out with a little bit of juice. The proverbial bat out of you-know-where after that pit stop. Tires only 2 laps old. There's a possibility they can go all the way there. And it seems that Jules is in the chat asking for a re-invite. Not sure if the race stewards will allow that, but that's something extraordinary. T4 Real, about 12 full seconds off of P2. And to say they have a battle ahead of them is an understatement, especially after leading the first couple laps. But Brad White, I know, is comfortable in that P2 position. But there's one thing you don't want to be, and that's too comfortable. Opportunities to overtake have been rare in this race. It's based on the number of cars on the grid and the spacing of it all. But Brad has been on the losing end of 2 of them. Doesn't want to make it a third. Lap 16 now here in France. Looking to the back half of this race. Final 11 laps to go here. We had a 18-minute qualification session, a 25% race. And now we're approaching that home stretch. And Spawn still at P1 led the most amount of laps. Gotta wonder, when are they going to come into the pits? Those tires look pretty worn based on the age of them. Everyone is essentially on the hards except for Brad and themselves. Really comes down to when is going to be the time they're willing to concede that P1 position to ensure their P1 position. Either way, what a brilliant day for them. Starting in the back of the grid, finding a way to lead most of this race. How great would it be if they came home and finished it? JD05, the curious case of JD05 in this race. P5 is kind of a fitting location for them as of yet. Didn't have the best run in qualification or in the race as it is. But it's still time to maybe get a position or two. Maybe even a win, barring something miraculous. Or including something miraculous, I should say. But they've done pretty well to keep themselves in the middle of the pack, along with Lemony Tang. I think have been in the middle of the pack for the majority of this race. Lemony and the Ferrari, as promised, Spinella. We have not seen it quite yet. Which is fine. As long as we don't Spinella during a race, we're fine, man. We don't want to see that happen in a race. Final 10 laps to go here. Lap 17. We've seen some improvement from Mr. Meta today. Mr. Meta hasn't been their day as yet as well. They've struggled pretty much all day long. But there's some tendrils, some nuggets of things to pull from. Just that corner action has not been their strong suit, but they seem to be pretty strong on the straightaways. As long as you familiarize yourself with the track, you'll be able to implement those as we go forward. I will say, mark my words, in preseason, week 1, that Mr. Meta could be one of the more improved cars in the grid. Got to trust themselves, be one with the vehicle. Maybe I should take my own advice. The real story now, as we head into the lap 18, or excuse me, lap 19, we're in 18 laps right now, is what is Spawn going to do on the older tires? They're on the medium tires, still at P1 by a considerable margin, probably hoping to somehow have their cake and eat it too, to get themselves ahead as far as they can, maybe even look for 19, look for 20 seconds, and then pit. That's risky. You don't want to wait too long, just in case you don't get that tendril of lady luck going your way. You want to give yourself some opportunity, some leeway, some time to get back up into a position if you somehow lose it, or you will lose it in the pits. But it seems to me that's the strategy this is right now. Just get as far as you can. And we have our third penalty offered by the race stewards. Multiple warnings, probably run off the track, it seems, for Mr. Meta. So penalties are starting to pile up now for everyone on this course. And that can be so frustrating. Take it from me. A lot of times when I do these races myself, I tend to be on the back of the grid, and you're trying your hardest to really get some time. You're trying your hardest to get yourself back in the race, back in the conversation, to have people say you did a good drive, to get driver of the day, and then you get a penalty. That's enough to really throw salt in the cornflakes, if you will. Brad White, the new lap leader, still in P4. The fastest lap to them. And it's really been about the technical prowess of Brad White. whether or not they're on the losing end or the winning end of an overtake, whether or not it's the fastest lap or second fastest lap, they found a way to keep themselves into that conversation, in that talk the entire time, which means that'd be a good teammate to have. Someone who's going to try to scrap and scratch and claw the best way they can to get the most points they can for your team. McLaren supporters maybe would be proud to have him in the paddock. Mark Jonker in P3. While that's a good place to be in, I know Mark is still looking for that P1, being able to be on pole during quali, seeing how that must feel like. You know, they're gunning to win another one. Clean race so far. Only a couple warnings, only a couple penalties. And as I say that, another penalty has hit. This one, JD05, and just an awkward day continues to be awkward for JD05. Multiple warnings from race control, has another penalty to their name. Take a look at these penalties here. We got three-second penalties from Brad White, JD05, and Mr. Meta, and 1 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits for T4 Real. And Spawn deciding to go for the soft tires, looking for a bit of an inverse strategy to most of the field today. Most were on the mediums and the hards, stopping fairly early. Spawn was taking as late as they can go to switch to the softs. A risky proposition. See if it works out for them. But I, for one, appreciate. There's another penalty there from Mr. Meta. This one here is another one. It's unfortunate. The second one very quickly. But back to Spawn real quick. It's a very unique strategy. Brad White's doing about the same. Old tires and switching to the softs. Let's see if it works out for them, because Spawn has proven they have the pace. They have a way to be faster than anyone else. And as I say, that's another shot there. JD05 is getting themselves back in the situation, back in that as well. But as they've been holding down P5, Spawn is currently in P3. The other Red Bull eyeing Mark Jonker in that P2. There's some wheel-to-wheel racing there. That could have been almost an incident, but it wasn't. And now you can tell that Spawn wants that P2 a little bit more. It seems a bit more urgency than Mark, and that could be the overtake. Is that the overtake right there? It could be on the straightaway. It's knocked off, caught off by the Mercedes. And wow, we're getting really spicy out there, but it just delays the inevitable. Spawn is back in P2. What a drive from them. They have found a way to elude the most defensive maneuvers of that Mercedes. And now they're at P2. Wow. Talking about throwing everything forward. Not out of the woods yet. It's only about 0.8 of a second separates P2 and P3. And Mark, being able to walk away with the overtake victory before, could probably tell you is not really feeling that overtake loss there. T4 Real got another penalty, and this can really impact that race. Let's take a look at the penalties. 8 seconds separates T4 Real from anyone else who has not have a penalty in this race. And with only about 6 laps to go, you would have to put on the afterburners to get yourself enough distance, enough pace away from everyone else on the grid to have those penalties work against you and still walk away with a victory. Seeing Mark Jonker there for a second ago was almost close to getting that position back. Is falling a little bit behind to about 1 minute and 3/10. Isn't the end of the world here, but you can see P2 is slipping away from their position. I bet frustrating and settling in now. And Spawn gets the fastest lap, and it looks like right now that soft tire strategy is paying off for them in spades. 8-second penalty for T4 Real, 3-second penalty to Brad White, 3-second penalty to JD05, and 6 seconds of penalties to Mr. Meta. Only 4 cars seeing the black and white flag today. We have caution here in Sector 2. Safety car is out. Safety car is out. Like we have ourselves A spin from Mr. Maeda and is now DNF from the race. Well, that's unfortunate. An unfortunate end for them, it seemed. Mr. Maeda spins out late in this preseason matchup. Now the safety car is out, and this could not come at a worse time for T4 Real. With 8-second penalties to their tally, the only way they're going to walk away with a P1 or even a P2 is if they got themselves enough distance away from them. With that safety car out there now, that may change everything. Vaughn gets a 3-second penalty now as well. So now we're getting late into this game, late into this race, and the penalty flags, the black and white flags are out. The safety car is out. Spawn took that time to get themselves another set of tires. Same with the Mercedes as well. So let's take a look at this. So we have a bit more people joining the soft tire compound party with the safety car, using that to their advantage. And Lemony Tang gets a penalty for speeding out in the pit lane, which, it's something that it's really unfortunate because you don't really think about how that can affect you, especially so late in the race. Like I said earlier in this broadcast, it's one of the ones that are like 100% on you and avoidable. You really can't say I was pushed. You can't say, oh man, I hit the NOS button and I was too fast. As it is right now, final 4 laps here in France. Safety car is still out. So here's a spread of compounds, mostly softs now, except for the hard compound from T4 Real. Practically everyone taking the pit stop to their advantage. Technically still 7 cars on the grid with Mr. Maeda with the DNF and Jules as the floating ghost of doom. You hear the penalty spread. T4 Real has a lot of explaining to do to the AlphaTauri squad when it's done. Radio 5 is pretty much attacking Lemony Tang now around that corner, trying to see if they can get themselves away from there. JDO 5 has been spent most of the race in that P5 position. Practically feels at home there. Let's see if they find a way to overtake Lemony Tang, and it's on the nip of the heels of that Ferrari, and Lemony Tang sees it, understands the threat, and is trying to do these wide turns to cut them off at the pass for now. And for now, it holds them off. JDO 5 is looking, hoping, wishing for that opportunity to get back to that place, that position they know so well. And as I say that, Lemony Tang goes off into the pits. It was kind of interesting. I think it just came from the pits. Not sure if there was damage on their vehicle at all. But as we say that now, kind of a fight that ended in a whimper. Final 3 laps here. Oh, yeah. Black and white flag party. Everyone's coming out there now. Let's see who doesn't have a penalty. That's Lemony Tang and Mark Jonker are the only ones who are essentially not black and white flagged at this point of the race. And Mark is in P2. A very, very good possibility to win this all once the safety car heads off the track, or VLC. Oh, it's actually a safety car. Vaughn, Mark Jonker, Brad White. Like I was saying their names many a times in this race. Other players have been involved in the top. It's really been those 3 cars, the McLaren, the Mercedes, and that Red Bull in that conversation. Kind of makes you wonder what Spawn is going to do. What's their strategy going to be? They are on the, I believe, the oldest tires. No, they did. They took that. They took a pit stop. Okay, great. I was going to say they were at one point on the oldest tires, but it seems almost everyone's on the soft compounds. It's going to be a sprint race within a quarter race here. Once that safety car heads off that track, Spawn, Mark Jonker, Brad White, and an emergent JD05 in P4. It's just building, trying to get those tires up to temperature. Soft compounds abound. And now, just about ready to see who's going to be the one to take that home. Who's going to be the one to really make an impact in the preseason matchup here in France. Prospect Esports, Tier 2, PC action. And if you want to know how you can be a member of Prospects, make sure hit us up. We're available in that Discord. We're available in that interwebs. Hit like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel. AMG, going round and around we go. I don't know about you. It's kind of interesting, kind of refreshing to see a race within a race. Soft tires getting warm. Everyone here is in the conversation. There is about 4 seconds, it seems, between top and bottom. About 3 even. Vaughn's in P1, but for now, how long? Mark Jonker on pole position, currently in P2. Would love to make sure they end the day on a P1 note. Brad White, P3, the lone papaya, as I've affectionately called them so far. Right behind them, JD05 and T4 Real Lemony Tang making up P4, 5, and 6, with Maverick, the other Merc, in P7. Looks like Brad White gets a 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag, probably speeding. And T4 Real also gets a 5-second penalty. It seems that a lot of these cars are, I guess, under the impression that safety car was off of the grid, but it's still yellow flag out. So you must adhere to the thing. And we're back underway. And I'm not sure if that was a masterstroke from Spawn, but there's a lot more penalties on that grid now. And that's going to be the story there. Those penalties, 8 seconds apiece for Brad White, T4 Real, 3 seconds apiece for Maverick, JD05, and Spawn. And now the Red Bulls are at P1 and P2. Spawn, JD05. Brad White in third place, but still carrying that weight, that albatross of 8-second penalties. And T4 Reel's right behind them with 8 seconds to themselves. This could not be more of a frustrating display for T4 Rail. For so long, thought they were going to be the presumptive winner because how strongly they started. Due to one thing over another, it's not worked out for them. Maverick in P5. Oh, we have ourselves a spin out. It looks like a spin there from the AlphaTauri. No, from the Mercedes, it seems. And it looks like that's pretty much going to be the end of Maverick's time there in that top conversation. Maverick spinning out in the penultimate lap. Sad to see, but it's all part of racing. And Mark Jonker, for so long in that P2 conversation, is in the rear. Mercedes, P6 and P7, something I bet they didn't want to predict going into this matchup. But as we get into that last lap, in change, Spawn on pole with the fastest lap, 1:33.129, followed by Brad White in P2 and JD05 in P3. JD05, even though I've said and written them off as a P5 candidate, perennial P5 candidate, has found a way to get himself in the conversation for Red Bull to get them some efforts on needed points. If points do count in preseason, not sure. T4 Real settling into P4, but it's hard to see with the penalties what that would be when it's all done. And now a last-ditch effort. It's a final lap here. Checkered flags are out. And we have a bit of a battle for P2. Brad White in P2 now. JD05 looking to do a last grasp to get themselves out in front to secure that Red Bull lockout. But Brad White, seen it before. I've heard it all before. And doesn't want that to happen again. It's an opportunity. Here's a last-ditch opportunity. Here's a last chance for Red Bull to really make a splash. But Brad White's going to spoil that. Vaughn in that first position, pretty much alone on an island. 3 seconds separating them and P2. All they have to do now is focus. And it's all for them. And that's going to do it. It seems. Okay, a little bit of a fancy display of wrecking the old car. Spawn crosses the finish line at P1, but in a way to frustrate those in the paddock by wrecking their front wing as they cross that finish line. JD05, it's a 1-2 lockout for Red Bull, with Brad White finishing P3, and rounding out the top 4 is T4 Real in the AlphaTauri, Maverick Loki in 5th place, and Mark Jonker in 6th. And Lemony Tang hasn't crossed that finish line yet. But when they do, they will be P7 in this race. Hanging in there, being able to finish the race is a reward onto its own. But today, it's all been Red Bull. Spawn, JD05, 1-2 lockout for the Red Bull team. They win this one. Spawn with the drive of the day, and I, for one, could not agree more. Here's someone that didn't even post a time in qualifying and found a way to not only win the race, but did it with a strategy that worked out in their favor. Whether or not it was a long wait for that pit stop or using safety car to their advantage, Spawn and Red Bull walk out with the victory here today. Fanfare happening. Everyone here in France, the original Grand Prix, 3.6 miles of exciting, thrilling racing. And that was one to be a real symbol of what Prospect is planning to do this season. First week of preseason in the books. Take a look at this. Spawn and JD05, the Red Bull with a 1-2 lockout. JD05, a fantastic drive coming from P5 to make it a possibility. Brad White, the perennial favorite, makes it in P3 with T4 Real having the 4th place. Maverick and Mark Jonker in the Mercedes team 5 and 6 with Lemony Tang crossing the finish line, the last one to do so in P7. Tough games for Jules and Mr. Mena. It was for them. They both get DNFs. What a fantastic start to the preseason. Everyone, hey, my name is Novanta. Thank you so much for rocking with me here today on this preseason edition of Prospect Esports Racing. Tier 2 action. You're here every Tuesday. Bye.